All right, welcome. So you are in the right place if you're here for exploring a career in social work. We will get started here with a land acknowledgement. So Lakehead University respectfully acknowledges its campuses are located on the traditional lands of the Indigenous peoples. Lakehead Thunder Bay is located on the traditional lands of the Fort William First Nation, signatory to the Robinson-Superior Treaty of 1850. Lake Heterolia is located on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. The Anishinaabe include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. Lakehead University acknowledges the history that many nations hold in the areas surrounding our campuses and is committed to the relationship with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples based on the principles of mutual trust, respect, reciprocity, and collaboration in the spirit of reconciliation. All right, and just so everyone knows, at the end of this, along with a quick little survey, you will be receiving a career exploration toolkit, which we have created kind of alongside of these career exploration series, and you'll get that sent to your inbox after this session. The format of today's virtual panel will be our panelist introductions and presentations. So I will introduce each panelist. They will speak for approximately 10 minutes. Again, panelists, you don't have to have the whole time if you don't need it. And then we'll keep all student questions until the end. So if you've got questions, feel free to write them down. And then once I let you know, I will monitor the chat, as well as you can unmute and ask your questions that way. Also, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Brooke. I'm a Student Wellness and Careers Associate here at Lakehead University, and I will be your MC today for this event. Our guest today will, and this is the order they will be speaking, is Donna Godfrey from the Lighthouse. She is the volunteer supervisor. Sergeant Tony Gabrielli from the Ontario Provincial Police. Carolyn Walsh, the manager of Children's Services, and Melissa Butt, supervisor of adult programs at Catulpa. Liz McDonald, a human resources generalist, and Liz Grummett, the manager of fundraising, communications, and community engagement at CMHA Simcoe County. All right, so we will start off with Donna. So Donna has lived in Orillia for 13 years and relocated here to enjoy the slower pace and quiet lifestyle combined with the attraction of the many lakes, forests, and hiking trails. Donna has worked in the social services field for over 40 years in various capacities throughout Ontario. She has worked at North York General Hospital Foundation as a special events officer, managing their high-end events. As well, she has worked with the ALS Society of Toronto, CNIB in Toronto, and the Multiple Sclerosis Society of Canada in Ottawa for 4 years as the Director of Development and Communications, and at Habitat Humanity in Bracebridge as Regional Manager of Procurement. Here in Orillia, over the past 13 years, she has worked with Big Brothers Big Sisters and Telecare, focusing on fundraising and developing partner relationships. Currently, Donna is the volunteer supervisor with the Lighthouse and has been for over the last 4 years. The Lighthouse is an emergency homeless shelter and offers beds to 50 adults and 8 youth. As well, the Lighthouse has a supportive housing building on site where 20 participants live in a furnished bachelor apartment and pay a small amount to live there for up to 4 years. She daily manages over 85 volunteers, as well as all the volunteers for their 3 fundraising events annually. She has built the volunteer program, starting with 11 volunteers, and now manages over 85 volunteers daily in various roles. She is also responsible for approximately 45 special event volunteers. Her role also includes recruiting and managing all student placements from various colleges and universities. She has gained a keen sense of who will work out and who will not. The students chosen must have the personality and skills to work with the vulnerable sector population. Of interest, 50% of all Lighthouse students become staff members. And I will give it over to you, Donna. Would you like me to keep this slide up? Do you have your own slides? Would you like?
I have no slides.
Okay,
So you can do
perfect.
what you want there.
Okay, maybe I'll stop sharing just to make it more of like a conversation. And actually, I'll
Okay.
spotlight you so that you
Yeah.
can.
Great. So let me just warn you all, apparently I'm in a different building and the internet is going off and on. So if I'm going mute, please somebody put their hand up and tell me. I just had that happen a second ago. So hopefully we'll be okay. And I'm assuming if we're all good, nobody's going to put their hand up. Okay, good? Yes? Okay. All right. So I have just looked at the questions. I went by the questions that you sent out. Many of them don't relate to me. I'm not a social worker, obviously. So I'll just take it from the beginning based on these questions. And just to start with the students in general, to say that we've had the student program running at the Lighthouse for about 4 years. I've managed it now for about 3 years, and we take about 3 students at a time, not all social work students all at once, but if we had them, we would consider it. Just a quick little thing about the Lighthouse, just so you're all very clear, as I say. One building is our community emergency shelter, where we have, the 50 adult beds, 8 youth beds. Our other building is supportive housing, where we have folks can live there up to 4 years. And they actually pay a little bit to live there per month, and they have a lot of programs that run there. So that's the difference. The community shelter, folks can live there till they and we help them to find housing. So we don't, after a certain time, ask them to leave, which is always a question. So that's a little bit, generally speaking, about the Lighthouse in general, so you know where I'm coming from. So I've just put a couple things together here, to talk to some of the questions, and particularly for the students in this case that might be interested in joining us. So after saying I'm not a social worker, but just to say too that we do have a social worker on site that I tend to connect with our social work students, and that is your one and only Samantha Walker from Lakehead. Samantha joined just a few months back and is working with us full time now. So we do have that now on site, and she's relatively new, so that's a good thing. I took one of the questions, what advice would you give to students preparing for the internship or field placements? So one of the things I find fairly rampant with all students that come, and it's not just social work students too. We have addictions, folks that are in addiction classes, courses, and we have a lot of social service students. And a lot of them, I find, believe it or not, are just not prepared. Some are not even really clear of what we do. And always, generally, is the case, students unfortunately don't really know what their competencies are that we have to meet. So that's kind of a tricky thing when we're trying to talk about that when they're not even sure themselves. So I would just point out to you, if you are coming to talk to me about an interview, just be very clear on what it is you need to get from us. Because I'm really a big supporter of the student and making sure that the student has a great experience and really get some good information and training. So that's a big thing. We do a lot of work on try to ensure that each student gets what they need based on where they're coming from. So I guess here's some just a few pointers for students out there. Smile. Seems a funny thing, but please smile. We work in a really hard environment at the Lighthouse. It's not all fun and games. And quite frankly, if I'm the one hiring you, I want to work with somebody that knows how to smile and has a sense of humor. So that may come as a shock to many, but for the other gal that works with me, Sabrina, frontline staff, and I that run the program, that's a real big deal. So just remember that one. Ask questions. Ask any questions, but for heaven's sakes, ask some questions. I have had students then that have done neither smiled or asked questions. So it's not very helpful for us, and it really doesn't talk to how engaged you are with us and really how badly you want to be there. So I think that's a real good one too. I mean, just for me, it just shows you're interested and you want to be with us. Be engaged in the process. Again, it's all back to asking questions. Talk a bit about your education, your background, your experience. Tell us why you think you should be with us, and why particular you want to be at the Lighthouse. Why? And not just to say you need a placement. And that's not an answer. It's an answer, but it's not a great one. So just to know that. Be flexible. Often in nonprofit world, as you all know, things change rapidly. And at the Lighthouse, things change by minute sometimes. So just know if you're with us, you have to be flexible. That's a big deal because you may come in and have an expectation day one that you're going to be doing this. That could all change. Um, so just know that. And I know that's easier said than done. Uh, we provide a lot of support, by the way, too, at the Lighthouse. It's a sometimes a little bit of a different environment. We are working with the vulnerable sector, and folks are in different states of well-being, both with mental health issues, perhaps, and addiction issues, drug and alcohol. So we're not all happy people all the time. So just be aware of that. Somehow you've got to find a way to stand out from the other students. It appears that quite a few people like to be with us. So I guess we're in a good position to say that we can be a little choosy, and we are. And we've got some fabulous students. I have right now, as we speak, a student from Lakehead with me now, and he's a superstar. He volunteered with us first, as a matter of fact. So that's always a really neat thing to do if you can volunteer with us. And we can get a feel for each other, then sort of a placement is kind of a given at that point. So that's just a little hint, little trick. I said that the Lighthouse is a really interesting place to work, and interesting is a big word. Right, Tony? Right. OPP are with us a lot. Thank you very much for your services. Look, great people. I actually asked one fellow once if he needed a room because he was with us so much. So there you go. But it comes with many challenges too. And managing, this is something we focus on, is managing your mental health too. At the Lighthouse, of all the places I worked during my career, the Lighthouse, I have to say, thanks to the leadership of Linda Goodall, is certainly a place where they really focus on staff, volunteer, and students and participants, but particularly staff and students and volunteers, mental health. And it's focused on a lot. They talk about it a lot. They offer courses and training. And so we then, needless to say, focus on it a lot with students too. So if you've had a bad day, if something's happening, you don't even know you're upset, because sometimes you don't even know you're upset. We'll ask you to go home, or we'll ask you just to chat about it. So I think that's really important, being just in the environment that we're in. It is a little overwhelming for folks. There's no doubt about it, but it's an incredible experience. I think I do exit interviews just out of interest. I provide exit interviews to the students, and I have them do it a couple of days before they leave, and given it lots of thought. And they've all been really very good. And it's not just about being good, but for us, it's an opportunity to learn and change our program for the students and make it what we can to make it a better opportunity for them too. With obviously, we get something out of it naturally, but I think the students get a lot out of it too. So we've had some really, really fabulous students, I have to say. Well, I mean, the stat is, 50%. I just did this calculation last week of all the students we've had in the last 2 years, 50% turning into staff. I think that's pretty remarkable myself. So that's really all I have to tell you right now. Certainly ask me any questions at the end, and we'll go from there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Donna. That was so insightful, and you gave us a lot of really good information about how you work with students, which is awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, all right, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen again. Okay. So Next, we are going to have Sergeant Tony Gabrielli. So Sergeant Tony Gabrielli's inspiring journey in law enforcement began in Montreal, Quebec, after completing the police technology program at CEGEP, John Abbott College. Tony joined the Ontario Provincial Police, OPP, in 2009. He quickly advanced from cadet to provincial constable, serving in various specialized roles such as breath technician, coach officer, and technical collision investigator. Tony's career took a significant turn when he joined the Forensic Identification Services, FIS, unit in Belleville, handling complex cases with precision. Promoted to sergeant in 2020, he led the Smiths Falls Forensics Unit and later returned to Belleville FIS as unit commander and acting staff sergeant. Currently, Tony is a senior recruiter with Uniform Recruitment, mentoring prospective OPP candidates and sharing his passion for policing and forensics. His dedication to specialized training, continuous learning, and mentorship highlights his impactful career in law enforcement. And I will hand it over to you, Tony. Do you have slides or would you like me to spotlight you?
You know what? I have both, but just spotlight me because I think I got to follow in Donna's footsteps there. I love her presentation, and so
Of
I think
course.
we're going to. And thank you so much, Donna, for mentioning the OPP first and foremost. I just want to start off by saying how grateful I am to be here as a panelist and with your students today. And thank you for those that have made this a possibility for the OPP to be here. The reason why I say that, and I think Donna just hit the nail right on the head. Actually, I want to recruit Donna. I want to hire Donna. So the fact of the matter is, with social work and policing, there are so many crossovers. I think at the heart of the reason both police officers and social workers, and those that, and when I say social workers, all the parallel careers that fall in that circle, share is that we all have big hearts. We care, we're curious, we want to be there for people, and often when folks are in their worst way, as I often say in my info sessions that I give throughout the province, that and this is a shock to some students when I go around, is that, guess what? Folks don't call the police when they're having a good day. They don't even call the police when they're having an okay day. They call the police when they're having a bad day or potentially the worst day of their lives. And you are that first point of contact. And I really emphasize that in being the first point of contact because we are one big team between social work within the community stakeholders of our different municipalities across the province. Policing is one piece of the puzzle. And I recently, actually, let me backtrack on this too. You heard a snapshot or a little snapshot rather of my history within the organization. I am born and raised in Montreal. I was hired on by the OPP, where I ended up in that picture. The reason it's in there is for a couple reasons. I have one of those military jets and aircraft in the background. Being from Montreal, my first posting within the OPP or detachment that I served at was Quinte West. So that's southeastern Ontario, just geographically speaking, towards from Orillia or certainly from Thunder Bay. Fun part about Lakehead University and the OPP, we both serve the same communities, whether it be Western Ontario or more central Ontario. The OPP, then we also expand to the east and the west and northeast. But a lot of parallels in play there. And certainly for students who are already in the Thunder Bay area, looking to move into a social working field, I would challenge you to come out to one of our information sessions, one of our recruitment sessions, because I think you're going to see a lot of the parallels that are in place. Circling back to what I was saying about the military aircraft, my first posting was in Trenton, Ontario. And that's where I come to you today from. It has the largest military air base in Canada. My career kind of came full circle, a lot of specialized services along the way, including forensics. But going back to what Donna talked about, working with at-risk populations, vulnerable populations, folks that are in crisis, whether it's from a mental health component, whether it's from an addictions component, that makes up a great deal of our clientele. And certainly, I know this is no surprise to the panelists or the students. Gone are the days of policing where it's run into the, sorry, I just dropped my fork from lunch. I apologize. Gone are the days of running into a situation and going hands-on. Our approach, and long has been, but certainly more of an emphasis in recent years with social media and many of the happenings that have happened across North America and on a larger scale, the world, but is that helping and talking side, if I could say it that way. There's no advantage to running into a situation, going hands-on and potentially getting injured myself or injuring somebody else. And we all know how terrible that could look on camera. Now, that's not to say there's not situations that need to be handled in an expeditious fashion. Absolutely, that is part of the job. But overarchingly, is dealing with those vulnerable populations, those folks that are in crisis or just need help. And sometimes it's helping get them back on their feet, just being that stepping stone that it may be introducing them to Donna and her team at the Lighthouse and helping out in that manner. Or when, as we know, the sad reality is a lot of this leads to victimization. And within the OPP, our goal is not only to keep safe communities across the province of Ontario, but it's very much to reduce that victimization piece. And with at-risk population, certainly that at-risk, that victimized piece grows exponentially. So our goal is to be there for those individuals through our interactions, by the way that we address folks, the way that we are able to offer them services. So really where I want to go with this from a recruiting standpoint, which is the shoes that that I'm in now, is I can't think of a better parallel career or from an academic career coming through on social work to the students on board today to a policing career. You are exactly what we are looking for in individuals: your curiosity, your caring, your compassion, and your preparation through your academic backing at Lakehead University make you amongst the most sought after applicants that we could ask for within our organization. And in a policing context completely, there's a lot of great organizations out there, police services out there across the province. Certainly I'm biased to the OPP. It's where I've spent the last 16 and a half years. And I always say this, I'm not selling the OPP because I've been drinking the recruiting Kool-Aid. I'm selling the OPP based on 16 and a half years wearing this uniform. It's so true to my heart. We have above and beyond, we have great benefits as well. As Donna mentioned, and I think this is so important in this field, is those mental health supports, not only to those that we serve, but to ourselves and to our families as well. And the OPP are amongst leaders in a policing capacity of offering those services, both in-house, where we have specific teams of clinicians and psychologists, but also externally, whether it be through our association or in your own community with members or clinicians that you feel comfortable speaking with and working with. We offer all that, and our benefits cover that, like I say, not only from our members, but also for our members' families. I make everything personal. Myself, I have a wife and 4 children. They all share the same benefits I do. And when it comes to being covered 100% for mental health related issues, or challenges, then it's huge. It's a huge support. So I don't want to take up too much time. I think that is probably around the 10 minutes. I will answer any questions that you may have. I really thank you again, my fellow panelists and those at Lakehead University that allowed us in the OPP to be here and just give you a little bit of a briefing on the OPP and the potential career opportunities that lie for you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tony. And if everyone loved that little or that spiel from Tony, you can see more of him. Tomorrow, I believe you're doing another panel with Jessica. So sign up for that one on My Success if you're interested.
Absolutely. I love this. Thank you. And thank you to Lakehead again. Really appreciate this.
You're welcome. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna bring back up our slideshow here. All right. So next up, we have Carolyn Walsh. Carolyn Walsh is a social worker practitioner with 34 years of experience in the sector. For the last 20 years, she has been with Catulpa Community Support Services. Presently, she works as Children's Services Program Manager, overseeing wraparound, family resource children's respite, coordinated service planning, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder key services and supports, Ontario Autism Program urgent response, and foundational family services and extensive needs services. Carolyn believes that individuals and families can meet their life goals by creatively tapping into the abundance of resources within communities. People often discover their strengths when they have a genuine and trusting relationship with social work practitioners. Reducing inequities gives everyone the same opportunities. Drawing on community resources and people's inherent strengths, we can better help everyone be the best they can be and live the life they want. And I will give it over to you, Carolyn. Would you like a spotlight or do you have your own slides?
Almost forgot to unmute myself. Sorry. We do have our slides, and I think Melissa is going to help us out with that as well.
Perfect. You should be able to share, but let me know if you can't.
Sure.
Yeah, I can. I'm just wondering, so Carolyn and I are going to share this presentation kind of jointly. So I don't know if you want to loop back and do, because you'll have a bio, I think, for mine too, or we can just jump right in. It's up to you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe I'll introduce you as well. Okay. So also from Catulpa Community Support Services, we have Melissa Butt. Melissa Butt has over 22 years of experience in the developmental services sector. She has worked in a variety of roles for the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services, funded agencies, and private agencies. Melissa has provided frontline support in group living environments, day programs, and person-centered planning. For the past decade, she has served as the Simcoe County Transitional Aged Youth Coordinator and is currently transitioning into the role of Adult Program Services Supervisor at Catulpa Community Support Services. Melissa champions flexibility, collaboration, and strong advocacy skills to empower persons served, families and allies, partners, and the broader community. In all aspects of her work, she emphasizes the socioeconomic factors that create barriers for the individuals she supports. Melissa is currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in disability studies at Toronto Metropolitan University and holds a diploma from Georgian College in developmental services work. Right, go for it and share your slides.
Thank you. All right, so you should see that main screen there. Yep. Perfect. So Carolyn and I both work for Catulpa Community Support Services. Thank you all for having us today. We're excited to be part of this presentation and hopefully give you guys something to think about when you're coming out of that social work or coming into the social work field for sure. So just a little bit quickly about who Catulpa is. So Catulpa provides services in the County of Simcoe, York Region, Durham, City of Kawartha Lakes, Haliburton, Peterborough, Northumberland counties. We have a staff team of over 100 people. that work in collaboration with government organizations, community agencies, and partners to achieve the best outcomes for everyone that we support. And we're providing services to infants, children, youth, adults, and families, all with special or unique needs. And we've been doing that since 1973. We have offices in the Allison, Barrie, Bradford, Campbellford, Collingwood, Lindsay, Midland, Newmarket, Orillia, and Whitby areas. So lots of coverage there in terms of where we provide some services. So just a little bit about our adult programs specifically. Catulpa has an umbrella of services in both children's and adult services. In the adult program, so we have an APSW program, Crisis Urgent Response, Passport, Transitional Age Youth, and Adult Complex Care. Basically, all of these programs fall under our adult services. Each of them have unique eligibility criteria to access and processes, begin, and are available to youth or to adults rather at 18. For TAY, it's a little bit different. So services or referrals can be made as early as 14, but because we're transitioning from children's services to adult services for a long-term kind of support plan, it aligns with some of that long-term adult planning. So falling under our adult services makes sense. So just being mindful of time, we're not going to go through all of the details of these programs, but you can find lots of information about those individual programs on our website, or we're happy to answer questions at the end or later on. So for me, I began in this field 22 years ago. I started as a developmental services worker student at Jordan College. And I started my employment career, my employment journey before I even graduated. And that was really a result of field placement, how I got into an actual employed opportunity. Primarily in the beginning of my career, I have worked in, frontline work, supported living environments with youth, adults with variety of complex needs. So really it does vary throughout my career, who I've worked with and the types of people that I've supported. I did shift early in my career to support individuals with complex behavior needs. That's kind of where I felt most connected to and where I felt like I could provide a bit more impact to the people that we were supporting. So for a large part of my beginning, 10 years, that's where I was housed. I did do some work also in the private sector, working again, frontline supervisory work in a treatment program for complex behavior needs as well. And then for the last 10 years, working at Catulpa Community Support Services in the transition program for children transitioning to adult services. Most recently transitioning into this adult program services supervisor role and overseeing some of those adult programs that we talked about. So pursuing a degree for me at this point in my career was something that I've been thinking about actually for many years. In 2022, I decided that it was the right time. And so I feel like learning never stops, right? So it's important that, if you feel like you need to re-engage or, shift your learning and continue to build and, expand those skills, go for it for sure. It's not always easy. Returning to school, especially as a mature student, but balancing home and work life for sure, and school is worth it. So after some research, I did decide on the Bachelor of Arts degree in Disability Studies through Toronto Metro. It's kind of a hybrid program that allows the flexibility, right, for me to manage some of those life commitments. And it aligns with my visions of inclusion and the importance of social justice and disability justice and individuals' rights and responsibilities and how we can impact social change. So, as a social worker student, you have that ability also, right? So, you are directly impacting people's lives. That's what we do. We are caregivers, right? We are in this field as helpers. And so, just I think remembering that focus, right, is important. Some things for me around like tips for students, really collaboration and relationships have been really key for me throughout my career. You never know where your path is going to end up, right? So I would say meet people, build rapport, develop those relationships, make those connections, never stop growing and learning. Definitely are some of those key pieces. Be flexible. I love Donna's recommendation around smile because we are working directly with people. And so for sure, as potentially a supervisor or hiring, someone that may be hiring or bringing in a student, a smile definitely goes a long way, but it also goes a long way with the people that we are supporting. So that smile and that humor definitely I agree wholeheartedly with as one of those tips. I am not going to go too much into detail on this. I wasn't sure where to go with our slides. And so we did put in kind of a meet Tessa. So this is kind of one of our success stories. I'll just take a quick second. Tessa came to us through the child welfare system. That is a picture of her, lovely picture. She is a forever Leafs fan, no matter what happens. And so she came to us through the child welfare system, experienced several placement breakdowns, but always wanted to return to her home community. So involvement with us brought her back this way. And I mean, through several years of work, obviously she's now an adult and has shifted from, living in supported group environments. She's accessed counseling resources, several resources through our programs here at Catulpa, but also with our community partners. And is now living more independently in the community and is just navigating what adult and future life looks like for her with a little bit of our support. So just to highlight, she's a great young lady. And I'll turn it over to Carolyn.
Thank you, Melissa. And just to reiterate what Melissa had said too, thank you for inviting us. This is always an exciting time, and we value our relationship with Lakehead and mentoring new students coming in. So what an awesome opportunity to be able to talk about our work. So what I am involved with, and I'm so glad it's written down because it's hard to remember every program that we have in children's services. But I'm not going to take the time to go through what the programs involve. However, invite you to visit our website at www.catulpa.on.ca for more program descriptions in children's services. And as Melissa said, we are a very large organization now. When I first started at Catulpa almost 20 years ago, we were 40 staff and maybe 5-6 programs, and we've really evolved to meet the growing needs of not only our communities, but the systems and the support that some of our partners are requiring of us. And we've really expanded to address some gaps and have grown as a result. So the programs I'm involved in, Family Resource Work Services, and that is probably one of our founding programs, along with our adult program that Melissa spoke of. And within Family Resource, we also have a respite, as our often overwhelmed and exhausted parents do need respite. We have a little bit of funding that can support some creative ways to give them the rest that they require. Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, key service and support. If there's anything you leave with today from me, I would suggest you know a lot about this, because in your work in social work, you will most definitely work with somebody who has fetal alcohol spectrum disorder at some point in your career, or a query of. They may be the individual that is labeled as bad or misbehaves, or ends up going through the youth justice route. You are definitely in your social work experience going to meet somebody. So my advice would be learn about this, because there are supports now available, and it's really, really helpful to understand the individual. We have Ontario Autism Program, which we like to acronym all our programs to the nth degree, and it's OAP, Urgent Response. And that in a nutshell is a family's in crisis. There's a behavior that poses an imminent risk. The youth may be into fire setting, or exploitation, or harm to themselves or harm to others. There's a list of criteria, but it's really about having a team move forward to support that youth in stabilizing some of that behavior. Our other OAP program, Foundational Family Services and Peer Mentor, we know in working with families that they really value that trusting relationship with somebody who's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, all of that stuff, and can support their experience by a relatively similar experience. And that's been really helpful as well. And we offer, strategies and webinars and all kinds of good stuff. Wraparound, you probably heard the expression wraparound services during the course of your education and your volunteering or your placement experience. Our wraparound program is actually, it's a certified program. It's an evidence-based program. Our facilitators need to be trained and certified. There's actually a Wraparound Canada Training Institute, and all kinds of supports, and it's across Canada, it's across the states, but it's really about approach, working with the family, not necessarily from a, you need to fix this or you need to do that, but rather, what do you need from a team? What kind of supports are you looking for? And the families we work with in Wraparound come from our child welfare sector, whereby they're involved with child protection, and their worker feels like they just need a little help. They just need a little support. They can do this. They got this, but maybe they need some supports around them. Or if a family identifies as Indigenous, they can self-refer, and we have a facilitator who provides that Indigenous approach to wraparound. Coordinated service planning, one of many of our case management programs. It's about integrated planning, working with those teams involved with a family. That child may have a diagnosis or may not have a diagnosis. There may be some mental health, there may be some physical needs. It could be just about anything. And then we attach, again, a team around them to support whatever pathway that family is in need of. And then our extensive needs services is it's called a proof of concept. You'll learn that in social work as well. Used to refer to as pilot project. Now it's called a proof of concept. It is also a team approach. It's only available in our York region, but it's a team approach that consists of psychiatrists, a psychologist, nurses, doctors, occupational therapists, speech and language therapists. And a child comes with a multitude of medical and or emotional or cognitive challenges that requires that team to get on the ground running. And we're hoping that that's a program that will continue. And we do this with Bloorview Macmillan Hospital. So it's a great example of collaboration. Again, another tidbit for social work is that you're going to work collaboratively in your career, and you're going to get to know all these other community partners. So that was a really elevator speech version of some of the programs I'm involved with. There are others, but again, I refer you to our website. And my trajectory, it's pretty typical, I would say, but there's some little nuggets in where I started and where I landed that will help you as you look towards your career in social work. And that is, from day one, from a small child, wanted to help people. It was just something I felt like I needed to do. I wanted to be a social worker from the get-go. I wanted to help people. Originally, I thought I wanted to help children in a child protection atmosphere. And through trial and error, I realized it wasn't the career choice for me that I had thought. For the main reason is it's very difficult. Child welfare is a very difficult role. It's a great experience. And if you are fortunate enough to get that experience, you're going to learn a ton that's going to help you in whatever route you then take. So it was really good. I worked, but it was tough. And when I had children, it became tougher, which leads me to that tidbit or that golden nugget of what you need to do to prevent burnout in the field of social work is change. Just change it up. When you're feeling tired, overwhelmed, exhausted, look, there's so many different pathways you can take with social work. So maybe it's time for a change. And so through the span of my 34 years, I changed it up often. I worked in substance abuse. I worked in domestic violence. I worked in residential care. I worked with youth sex offenders. I worked in children's mental health. Like, I changed it up. And I worked all over. I worked in Ottawa, I worked in Quebec, so when you said CEGEP, I could relate to you, Tony. I worked in Northern Ontario, I worked in Ottawa, Kingston, but landed in Barrie about 20 years ago and stayed put in Catulpa because it offered everything I needed for my own career path. I had the ability to change in my work. I had the ability to use my prior experience in helping me with some more of a clinical experience to add to the work that I do. So that's my advice. Change it up. With Catulpa having been situated for 20 years, it's home. I work with some wonderful people, and you will really, in your experience, rely on the people that you work with. They become your second family. You have no time for toxicity. It's all about working together with a common vision, a common goal. Be prepared as a social worker to be able to multitask. That's a given. You need to do many things at once. You need to learn how to prioritize. What comes first? Safety comes first always. Everything else, you can eventually figure out what's next and who's playing on second and third and so forth. But multitasking, changing it up to prevent burnout. There's so much more to social work than your actual role. And I just want to give kudos to Melissa. Melissa facilitated and organized a recent human trafficking conference with someone with lived experience, and it was incredible. So not only in social work are you just confined to your role or the job, your job description, but rather you can do all kinds of things with your expertise. And Melissa ran a conference that was so incredible and very relevant to our area. Simcoe County has high rates of human trafficking, and Melissa chairs a committee within Catulpa that addresses prevention and information and education. So there's a lot you can do in the roles that you have. Committee work is critical, and it's very, very helpful for networking with other partners. Other little tidbits I have is celebrate those small wins with family. You're trying to gain their trust. You're developing a working relationship with them. And part of that is celebrating the small wins. And I say that because for us, it might not be something that we're not capable of doing. We're highly resilient. We've got grit. We can do all these things. But some of our individuals and families haven't experienced those compliments or those voices of encouragement. So it's important to celebrate small wins with everybody. It builds people up, definitely. And lastly, I would say in social work, another tidbit is when you're working with families or individual with whatever area that you choose to, imparting self-advocacy in your work with them is important, so that when you're no longer needed and you're gone and they're on their own, that they have the skills or the ability or the knowledge how to advocate for themselves and their own needs, and also to recognize their strengths. So you have a very, very important job to do, and kudos.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah, I didn't share actually the committee work. Carolyn, thanks for jumping in on that because yeah, I think that's the other piece, right? Is that networking, that collaboration, those community partnerships, and then having opportunities to create capacity amongst your peers, right? And the people that you're supporting as well. I think is definitely something to I think it just fills your bucket a bit, right? I think you have to find something to fill your bucket. And so this work is hard. And if you, even though, the anti-human trafficking work that I'm doing, um, it is, it is a difficult topic, right? It's a heavy topic for sure. But being able to share that information fills the bucket a little bit, right? So go ahead, Karen.
No, just ending with this quote from a family involved with our urgent response program. They struggled that the child's behavior was that they were ready to say, I can't do this anymore. We got a team of support in there, mental health and others, behavior technicians, that sort of thing. And they were actually seeing their child smile again. That's a win. Actually, that's a big win. That's not even a small win. That's a huge win. And you don't often in social work get those accolades, but when you do, they last a long time. And this would be one example of that. So I wish you well in your future.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So that's okay. Sorry, I'm just going to do a little plug. So for students that are exploring opportunities, we do have students that come to us sometimes for placement. That's accessed through our HR department. The email is there. So info@catulpa.on.ca. We do regularly post jobs on our career section on our website or Indeed and Glassdoor. And we can answer questions at the end.
Thank you so much. I also really appreciated the story of someone that you worked with. I thought that was really great and very impactful. So thank you. All right, so we will move to our next speaker. And it'll be Liz Grummett first and then Liz McDonald. But Liz Grummett is the manager of fundraising, communications, and community engagement at the Canadian Mental Health Association, Simcoe County Branch. With 25 years of service at CMHA SCB, Liz brings deep frontline experiences in case management, outreach, and community-based mental health support. In her current role, she leads fundraising initiatives, public education, and advocacy efforts, promoting equity, mental wellness, and community connection across Simcoe County. And would you like me to spotlight you, Liz, or do you have slides?
No, feel free to spotlight. That's great.
Oh, amazing.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today, and I've really enjoyed listening to my fellow panelists and their journeys. And I think one of the most important things I hope everyone today that's joining us can understand that there's really no straight line to get from where you want to be and where you think you want to be. And your journey can go in multiple directions. And I think we've heard that from our guests today, that you might start off on one direction and then something might happen. And that kind of happened for me. So I've been with CMHA for 25 years. I just had my anniversary. I started off as a student and I never left. But leading up to coming into that placement for that summer student position I had, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a degree in psychology, so I'm not a social worker per se, but definitely in psychology. And I volunteered my butt off. I tried, placements in the volunteer capacity with hospital, with telecare, with children protective services, with teaching English as a second language, because I really didn't know where I wanted to land. And I think one of the things I did that really helped me decide to continue to work with people was I was a waitress for a long time. And I think one of my biggest pieces of advice is do some work in customer service. You'll learn a lot about people. And we know emotional intelligence is one of the biggest, strongest skill sets people could have to be successful today. So when I think back to those days of, serving food, I learned a lot. And when you think about the world of social work and the work that we do in all our different capacities, it really is about customer service, right? We want to provide the best supports, the best resources, the best care for people in whatever role we take on. So I started off at CMHA and my work was frontline. I was working in outreach in the community, case management, social programs, and I did that for quite a long time and I loved it. But just like I think Carolyn and Melissa shared, it's tough. It's super, super tough. And I recognized, after, 16 years, I needed to make a shift. So I shifted into communications, fundraising, and community engagement, which I get to do great things because I get to go into the community and talk about education, about, who we are and what we do. And I still get to provide support for families. So again, the line isn't always straight. You might start off in one direction and come around. So I think my biggest pieces of advice are volunteering is where it's at. Get out there, try some things out. You might be surprised. Similar to Carolyn, I thought I was going to work in Child Protection Services. I volunteered there for 10 years, running a group for girls in care. And I learned pretty quickly that was the best role, that if I was to actually work at Children's Aid, that's what it was at the time, it wouldn't have been the same experience. So I still got to do what I wanted to do, but in a volunteer capacity. So don't be afraid to try something. Don't be afraid to get out there and, do what you can, right? Children's Aid. I'm promoting the wrong agency now. Canadian Mental Health Association is fantastic. Been here for a long time, worked in many different programs. We offer a variety of programs and opportunities for people who are in the social work program. And it's great. We're in the community. So I think if you are considering, your role in social work, is it maybe hospital-based? Is it community-based? And there's some really big differences. And I think today we've heard a lot about the community. I would agree with my fellow panelists. You need to be flexible. Things change on a very quick, turnaround. Your day is always different. So if you like that, then definitely community-based mental health work is for you. So visit us at cmhastarttalking.ca. We have tons of programs. We have programs that are very clinician-based, like our early psychosis intervention program, our assertive community treatment programs that have a team of professionals, including social workers, psychiatrists, occupational therapists. And then we have some other programs where we're definitely really involved in the community. So I'm just mindful of our time, but I'm going to give my colleague Liz a little bit of time to talk about, what I wanted to mention was one of your questions, Brooke, was about training or education or something that would be important. I think one of the biggest skill sets, along with volunteering, is listening. Listening, if you're a good listener, you're going to go far. So I think focus on emotional intelligence, focus on your listening, trauma-informed care. That's another big one to learn about. But listening, really, if you're a great listener and you're kind and empathic and genuinely want to help someone, then social work is for you. So I'll pass it over to Liz McDonald.
Thank you so much, Liz. I'll quickly introduce you, Liz, on our slide here. So Liz McDonald is an HR generalist at the Canadian Mental Health Association, Simcoe County branch. Liz began employment at CMHA SCB approximately 3 years ago and focuses her skills and efforts in the areas of recruitment, onboarding, and offboarding while serving as a point of contact for questions and support across the agency. And I will let you start. Liz, would you like to be spotlighted or would you like do you have slides or anything?
Spotlighting is great, thank you.
Okay, perfect.
And I won't speak for too long, and I'll mostly be piggybacking off of what the other Liz was talking about. Just wanted to say we really value our relationship and partnership with Lakehead University. I will be speaking mostly just about what I can say about our student placements and sort of answers any recruitment and placement sort of questions that students might have on the panel today. I will say right now and into the next month, so for May and June, we'll be kind of coordinating beginning to coordinate placements for the fall starting in September. And normally how that's done through Lakehead is through the Lakehead University placement coordinator. So we have a great relationship with them where they communicate with our HR assistant, Tina. They ask if there's the opportunity to coordinate any placements. We'll typically be sent the resumes that go to the Lakehead University placement coordinator. And then we work with the management team on our end to see if they have the capacity to take on student placements. So like I said, right now and into the next month, please reach out to your student placement coordinator if you're interested in participating in a placement for the upcoming fall. We do also on our website highlight how you can apply for any jobs. Our job opportunities will be posted there, as well as how you can get involved with volunteering, as well as how to reach out for student placements. You can also email the HR email address, which again is on our website for any placement questions as well. What else can I speak to? I will say I connected with one of our management staff members of the Assertive Community Treatment team, as I know we were sent out some questions to start thinking about that would help students in this line of work. And some areas of knowledge and skill that would be helpful if you're looking to join CMHA is having a good understanding of the Mental Health Act as well as mental health disorders. Also, knowledge and understanding of CBT and DBT. In addition, some certifications or extra courses that might be beneficial on top of your social work program is obtaining some sort of addictions experience that could be obtained through an addictions course through CAMH, for instance. Some other skills that other panelists have highlighted and Liz previously highlighted would be your ability to collaborate and multitask. We also value those that are, advocating for their clients and come with a client-centered approach. We are also a harm reduction agency, so any skills in terms and experience with harm reduction is very valuable. And what looks good on a resume for both job opportunities and placements, as Liz mentioned before, is volunteering and those external, like, extracurricular activities. And also, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but if on your applications, I know it's a bit of a pain in the butt to make a covering letter, but that can really help set you apart from other applications. So it's highly encouraged for either placements or job applications to submit a covering letter to, again, help distinguish you there. Like I said, I'll be here to answer any other questions that I can at the end about job opportunities and student placements. So I'll stay on till then. And I'll just also know we are a growing agency. So I feel like we're always advertising job postings and job opportunities. So please monitor our website, and we also post on Indeed and websites like LinkedIn. So keep your eyes out for that.
Amazing. Thank you for all of that information, Liz. All right, we're going to jump right into questions now. So thank you to all of our panelists for all of your information and giving our students the opportunity to get a little sneak peek into, what your day-to-day is like and your roles and your organization. So that was awesome. Thank you. So if anyone has a question, you can use the raise your hand feature, and I can, call on you and you can unmute yourself. Or if you'd like, you can also ask your questions in the chat. And I see a hand first with Celestine. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah. Hi. Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this very interesting webinar. Honestly, this is very interesting, and I think social injustice are one of the factors that motivate social work. Apart from helping people, to me, I'm a prospective student, international student in social justice department. So for me, I want to know if social worker collaborates much more with a social justice person. Thank you.
Any of the panelists like to volunteer to answer that question?
I can jump in. I just feel like, if I'm understanding correctly, I feel like you're asking how can a social worker student engage in that social justice work? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So for me, it is definitely about advocacy. It is advocacy really through and through. It's understanding the people that you are supporting, understanding the barriers and those injustices that create the problem, right? So flipping that script of it is the person that is the problem, or that the person's disability is the problem, or the person's needs are the problem. Being able to shift that mindset and really address what are the things that contribute to that is key. And so, again, for me, I think I've had a great opportunity in this last 10 years to have more say and voice, right? So it didn't really come, right at the beginning of my work, to be honest. It has grown over the years. And then I would say more so over the last 3 to 5 years, just because of my connections to, maybe the powers that be, or some people that maybe I can, get their ear and say, hey, like this is a problem. This is a barrier. Here's some gaps in our services. We need to fix this. And then coming up with solutions also. So it's easier to say, this is a problem in our system than it is to say, here's a solution to the problem. So I think being creative, being open-minded, really assessing who can contribute to making an impact for that change.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that answer, Melissa. Would any other panelists like to jump in before I move on? Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
And I just would add, and I was going to mention this earlier, I mean, there are avenues where you can be more directly influencing policy, right? So not necessarily frontline work, you can be getting involved with, other agencies, board of directors, committees. At CMHA, we have a governing CMHA Ontario and CMHA National who, are always advocating and are big on the policy and that piece as well. So, maybe that's your idea of how you want to implement your social work degree, right? Getting involved in a different capacity, not necessarily frontline. So that's just an idea for you.
Thank you, Liz. Anyone else want to jump in before I take the next question? Okay, perfect. Christina, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Christina. Thank you so much for everyone's really valuable information. So I'm a third-year student in my social work degree, so I just finished a placement at the Sharing Place in Aurelia. So I'm currently looking for a placement for fourth year, which is coming up in September. And I have a question for Tony, because one of the places I'm interested in is the OPP, as well as CMHA actually as well. But for Tony, I was just wondering, what does a student placement look like at OPP? Because I think some of these other social organizations, it's a little easier to imagine what I would be doing. I'm just curious what that would look like, because it's definitely somewhere I'm interested in. I'm curious what the day-to-day of a placement would be like for a social work student.
Absolutely. Thank you, first of all, Christina, so much for the question. I appreciate it. I appreciate your interest in the OPP as well as CMHC. I mean, all the partners that are on here are fantastic organizations. So A couple things. One of the things, so OPP, we haven't always got it right. And this is one of those ideas. I love this. Like I've been sitting in here and it's just like the ideas that have been coming on is because so many of our placements revolve around police foundation programs and not social work programs. And I think this is a direct segue where we have to expand our placements to include social work programs because, like I say, historically, that's not the case. So currently, it's more of we don't really have a specific placement program right now. For social work, we do have though, and many of the panelists had touched on this, and I love that they have because it's so important. Not only that we say it from a recruiting side, but really in a policing side, is that volunteer aspect and getting that volunteer work. Within the OPP, we have between 600 to 1,000 auxiliary members. Our auxiliary members are full-on members of the OPP, but what makes them so unique is they are volunteer members of the OPP. So all their time, they're in an OPP uniform. They come out on ride-alongs with our officers. They're involved at many community events around the province, but they're all volunteers. So they're basically gaining that experience, getting their volunteer hours, so to speak, but gaining that valuable experience from a frontline provincial constable side, while doing it volunteer. So it helps affirm that if you have an interest in policing, what better way, come in, volunteer with our organization, and you really get to see, okay, yes, do I want to do this? Can I continue to see myself doing this? Or not, or you make that informed decision that, well, maybe not, and maybe it is more the clinical setting that I'm looking for. That. So I've made note of exactly that because we don't have that placement right now in place for social work, but stay tuned.
So sorry, and just a follow-up question then, in terms of career, when you're applying for a career as an OPP, if volunteering works out and you like it, is that something you can do like as a, like, do you have to be a police officer to have a social work position, or is it like a civilian type of position?
Okay, so I'll answer your question in a couple different avenues. The first and foremost is addressing the OPP is it's a massive organization. We have 10,000 members across this province, or approximately 10,000 members. 6,000 or so are uniformed members, basically frontline police officers. 3,000 or so are civilian members within our organization. So we have a large quantity on both sides, uniform and civilian. So both of those opportunities are there. The interesting part in the field that you're in social work is, as many of you may have seen, not only can you come on as a provincial constable, as a uniformed officer, but I touched on we do have some civilian roles as well internally that either support our members, but also as through our social media and in the media, you may have seen we do have clinicians that go out with our members, and there's different acronyms that we use. I forget who was one of the Liz's talked about, or was it Carolyn that talked about we have acronyms for everything. The OPP too have acronyms for everything, and so in that social work side, we do have acronyms for everything as well. But so that you have. Sky's the limit is what I want to say. There are different avenues that you could come in to the OPP given your background in social work. My specialty, I'll say, is on the uniform side. And I could tell you I could explain a whole lot of parallels of why I think you're a perfect fit coming in on the uniform side, but I'll limit it down just given the time with the OPP, sky is the limit. So you come in with a background in social work, just from the very first stepping on the ground, doing your first call, you're going to be doing social work from a frontline perspective in policing, and working with all the great partners that we just heard from today. But as you progress through your career, you can either continue to specialize on that side, going into specialty units that may address like human trafficking or parallels to whichever type of victimization we want to kind of classify as. But also, if there is another interest that piques your mind, then you could also pursue that. So there's many careers within one career or within one organization, if I could put it that way.
Okay, thank you so much.
Jessica just put a little plug into the chat as well about tomorrow evening's event, and Tony will explain more about that recruitment
Exactly.
process.
I signed up for that.
Yay, great.
Brooke, sorry, Brooke, I just wanted to add, I think Tony was starting to go down the road. So with CMHA, we have partnerships with a variety of OPP teams. So we have, again, there's different acronyms, but basically we have ride-alongs. So we'll have a mental health worker ride along with a police officer. So that might even be something you might be interested as well. So sometimes you hear it called COAT, MCERT.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for those as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Liz. That's exactly it. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Would anyone else like to chime in before I move to the next question? Awesome. Okay, Jace, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for presenting. I had a question for CMHA. What are the most common jobs that are hiring for MSW level students?
Sorry, the most common jobs for bachelors of social work was that the degree?
For MSW.
Oh, MSW. It's a great question. Liz, feel free to hop in. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would think there's many opportunities. So two of our programs, one is the Ontario Structured Psychotherapy Program, which is ran alongside of Waypoint Hospital. So again, you would need your Master's of Social Work or I guess a psychotherapy, but I think Master's of Social Worker is better. I think. That's my little side point. So that's a great team. The family health team also hires MSWs, again, more therapy. So when you're thinking in-office therapy clinician. And then again, I think with the COAST teams, I think, we could be looking at that type of level of support. And certainly with our assertive or ACT teams, again, I'm talking in acronyms, but our teams, the early psychosis intervention team, the assertive community treatment team. So many, many opportunities to use that master's level.
If I can jump in and add to with our agency in particular, because I'm involved in a lot of the hiring in children's services, we are seeing a higher number of folks with an MSW or a master's degree. It's not a requirement for any of our positions currently, but we are seeing that competitively. Doesn't mean they'll get one job over somebody else with a BSW, because we really rely on experience. But we are seeing that coming up for sure.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Ayla, we'll take your question now.
Awesome, thank you so much. Sorry, just trying to start the video. Oh, there we go. Okay. So my question is actually for Melissa. So I will be starting the social work program in the fall, and I'm going to be easing into it simply because I've just had a baby. So my question is this. Being that I'm also a mature student and I'm going to be returning to the education scene, I like that you called out to that because that really resonated with me. I'm just wondering, what is your recommendation when it comes to attaining appropriate volunteer opportunities, while also trying to maintain that balance of home life? Simply because I will obviously need to be juggling income generation as well as volunteer opportunities. So I'm directing this question to Melissa, but of course, if anybody else has anything to offer, I'm all ears. I'm super excited to start the program, but I'm also very nervous simply because it feels a little overwhelming. But yeah, any advice or any insight is welcome.
Yeah, I would say I mean, the uniqueness of a volunteer opportunity is that you have a little bit of control over your time, right? And so I think a lot of agencies, at least in my experience, have been grateful for volunteers, regardless of what your capacity is. And so I think I think it's about being open and honest about what your capacity is to be able to do that, not bite off more than you can chew. Believe me, I can definitely relate there. Also a mom, working full time, new position coming in, work full time, managing kids' sports is a whole other piece, right? So, I think it's just reaching out. I think it's finding what interests you to, again, like fill your bucket. So if you are available to do some volunteer work that's going to kind of give you the experience, give you those hours, but also give you an opportunity to avoid some of that burnout, right? That can come even before you're in the field, right? You're working, you're managing home life, work, school, all of that. Definitely I would say is important, and just kind of reach out and see what opportunities exist. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's helpful insight. Even just, knowing that it's possible, I think at this point is helpful.
It is. Yeah, and I think also just keeping an open mind in terms of what opportunities are available. So I haven't actually had a whole lot of capacity to myself personally to do a lot of volunteer hours necessarily. However, I have opted to participate in little certificate programs that are offered through my university. So that's not really volunteer hours, but it's an additional add to my resume, and it's additional education and additional experience. It's extra trainings, right? So getting out and getting engaged in the community, finding opportunities where you might be able to jump onto, maybe it is a board of directors opportunity, or maybe it is, an external, community committee that you could jump onto, to bring a student, a mom, a worker lens to that committee, right? So those are all potential opportunities.
Thank you so much.
I've got an idea for you.
Yeah.
So at the Lighthouse, of course, we have a volunteer program. We have 100 volunteers, but we also have a relief staff. So with relief staff, you get the best of both worlds. You get paid, you get experience, and they would probably be very happy to have you, as you're getting the background, you've got the interest level. With relief, you can choose your shifts. So that's a great thing. And plus you're getting experience. So that's kind of a double whammy. So reach out to me if you have any interest in that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful option. Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
I'm just making a note of that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. I think in the interest of time, and no one has any other questions or anything else to add, I'm just going to double check the chat to make sure we have no questions there. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. Oh, Christina, go for it.
Sorry, I just also had a question for both of the Liz's. So are you guys looking for placement students for the fall?
Yes.
Okay, and what type of placements do you have for social work students? I was just curious, like what it might look like.
Yeah, it will be based on like the program manager's kind of capacity to take on a student at this time. So kind of the ask goes out to all the program managers, and again, based on their capacity to take on a student at that time, we'll hear back. Liz, did you have anything to add?
Sure. Yeah, I've overseen some students in my past. So you walk alongside, right? You walk alongside the day. Sometimes we have social worker students lead groups depending on the programs. Again, depending on your program, depending on your also level, like I think you said you're year 3. So again, if you're a newer student, then maybe not so much. We definitely try to get you really involved in, like, whether it's case management or the acting, like really doing the work that we're doing. And I think, and hopefully I'm speaking for everyone, we would never ask you to do something that we wouldn't do. So we used to do a lot of bed bug work, going into apartments and helping our clients prepare maybe. And I can remember you get dressed up in your bed bug outfit. And I had a student and she struggled. She really struggled. And I think you got to try those things. And, but we would never ask you to do something that we wouldn't do, whether it's the tough work or learning how to document, right? Because that's a big learning as well.
Please reach out to your sorry to cut you off there. Reach out to your placement coordinator through Lakehead as we work directly with them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Maybe after I say thank you to everyone, I'll get the panelists just to hold on for another minute before you log off, just so we can chat and I can thank you personally for coming. But thank you to all of our participants. If you do have any questions or are looking for more information, feel free to reach out to me. I have my email. I've been sending you all of the reminders for today's session and the Zoom link. So if you need any more information, you can definitely reach out to me, as well as any of our panelists who have shared their information, and reaching out to your placement and practicum coordinators as well if you have questions for them. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming today and asking your questions, and hopefully everyone has a great rest of their week.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a great day. Actually gonna stop the recording.